See, it's so interesting how my life has been. Like, I grew up in the village, I dreamed my way out to the States, I enjoy all that luxury, and then boom, my life is turned around and full circle, I'm back in the village again. So about 10 years ago, my dream to relocate back to Kenya became reality because I had dreamt of coming to establish a recreational facility or something, a program basically where young people can be empowered to dream their lives out of whatever circumstances they may find themselves entrapped in. And so that's what led me to this, which was predominantly a bush. As you can see, it's still very underdeveloped. And I came to a place that was very thorny, very bushy. All you could see is snakes and some wild animals. And I managed to clear the bush and start to build what would become what we have today, a recreational and educational facility. It's called the Wimberly place. Initially, I just built an open hall, which would be a training hall, and then I built a storage unit which had a tin house on the top. And believe it or not, from America to the village and then coming to live in a tin house, that's an irony that a lot of people have never really understood. But I felt like that's a vision I had had for several years. Every time I would come by here during the holidays and I would see a bush, but I envisioned exactly what I was beginning to form. And as the buildings came together, I started feeling like my vision was unraveling. So it wasn't an easy journey. As anyone can imagine with any form of transition, one of the hardest things is being able to fit into your own culture. You come home, but you really feel out of place. You don't understand the culture anymore. There's a cultural shock. It's like a reverse cultural shock because I didn't expect it. So, you know, when you don't expect it, it hits you harder. And for me, it was no different. First of all, the budgets that I had, which were given to me by people that I trusted in the family, turned out that they were overrated, and I quickly ran out of money. In 6 months, I had sunk everything that I had on the ground and I had nothing else to show for it. I hardly even had enough to hand out to somebody just for a meal. And so I had to stop my projects and travel back to the States where I had saved for my retirement. And that was the only other source of money or finances that I could get to help me propel this project going forward. So I went back to the States and liquidated all my savings, all my 401k, which is a retirement program there, and any dividends that I had in my savings, in my shares, and I liquidated that and came back home. But then again, in a few months, in just about a year or so, I ran out of resources again. And one person that I know, or two people that I know that encouraged me the most on this journey are now late. It's my grandmother, Lois, and my mother, Sarah. May they both rest in peace. Because it's the words of encouragement that they gave me. They may not have had much material to give me. But one of the things that I know that they did tell me is that the God who called me into this work was faithful. He was faithful when he took me from the village to the States. And he was faithful when he brought me from the States to here, especially because I came back to Kenya to serve. And there's nothing as significant in anyone's life as service. You know, many times there's something that I learned from Martin Luther King, that every one of us wants to be famous. But we all cannot be famous, but we all can be significant, because significance comes from service. I thank God for the opportunity to serve in such a plain place, you know, to serve the least of the community, because I was once one of those. And going back to the story of developing these facilities, I remember people would ridicule and laugh at me and say, this is a white people's thing. What is she coming to build here? A library, a recreational facility? That was like a foreign term for many people who didn't understand what recreation is. It's still kind of foreign to many in our country and in our society. But I continued moving forward, and luckily I had invested some pieces of property in Kenya while I was away. And those are the ones that really were able to pull me out of the mud and put me back on track. About 7 years ago, we started hosting youth camps when this place was barely developed. But young people, I've come to find out, they're looking for what we are offering. So many young people looking for inspiration, looking for somebody to dream alongside them. Things that I wish I had when I was a young kid, but because I didn't have it. I love the song of Whitney Houston where I believe the children are our future. My most favorite part of that is where she says, everyone is looking for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my need. Such a lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. So I learned to depend on myself and my dreams. For a long time, I dreamt things out of the norm. I dreamt about things that I had never seen. I'd never seen anyone in the family do, because again, like the song says, everyone is searching for a hero, someone you can look up to, someone you can go after. I never had any of those. And another thing that has inspired me over the years before I even came back to Kenya to do this, it's very scary. There's an American cartoonist who said, if your dream is not big enough, then it's not scary, it's not big enough. If your dream is not scary, if it doesn't scare you, then it's not big enough. And so I dreamt out this place when I looked like I was out of my mind. And I remembered a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It says, don't go where the path may lead, go instead where there's no path and leave a trail. I believe what I'm doing today, I came to where there was no path. It was a bush like you can see right behind me. And now what we have is a facility, the only one of its kind that caters to the needs of young people, kids, and even churches and families that are looking for a place to host something like a birthday party, looking for to host something like a graduation party. We've done all that. We've hosted youth camps through Scouts programs, church groups, and school programs as well. And this is something that is done for business, but really more on a non-profit business. It is just for sustainability. You know, I've heard often people say that we wait until we achieve our goals to celebrate. But I believe in one thing, in celebrating small milestones, small achievements. When I started this dream of building this facility, which is called the Wimberly Place, I envisioned it being up and running and completely running in no more than a year and a half or two. As I shared earlier, I kept running into obstacles because I did not foresee those. But I've embraced the champion mindset where you celebrate your small wins towards the bigger win. And so here we are today, 10 years later. We have a facility that is the only one in the area, in the region, and we host youth camps for teens through schools or church youth groups. We also host young kids Scouts programs. We host private events like graduation parties, birthday parties, community activities and organizations, and as well as now we are opening up to corporate organizations that want to do things like teamwork and things like that. And behind me you'll see that we have a playground for young kids. There is not such a facility here, and what I'm seeing today is what I envisioned more than 10 years ago. Granted, I was very aggressive and thought it would come together in 2 years, but now I thank God that 10 years later, I can sit back and bask, and I love being here, enjoying the breeze and the sunset, beautiful, beautiful sunsets and moonlights and all those things, doing what exactly I had envisioned to be doing 10 years ago. If you're a parent and you're watching this, if you're an educator and you're watching this, you're a preacher, you're a pastor, anybody that is involved in service, this is a perfect place, and I look forward to partnering with you on your next program where you're looking to take people out to be equipped and empowered for a better tomorrow. The Wimberly Place, where we are made. Made means making a difference every day. God bless you so much.